Hello and welcome to another new episode of Learning Simplified. In this tutorial, today we are going to learn how to create animation on filter properties. Here is the animation that has been provided on the filter properties. It is getting less opaque, then it is getting hue rotated, and then it is getting saturated, and then it is getting less opaque again. So these are the things that we are going to learn in this tutorial. Let's get back into the text editor. And here we can see that this is the selector name tricks with filter, where we have defined image properties. That means any kind of image that lies within this tricks with filter class name, those will be executing all these properties, as we can see over here. Here we are adding this particular property, animation. First thing that comes over here is the animation name, so we are naming it as change color, or you may say change filter. Then comes the animation duration. We have set it to 5 seconds, and then comes the number of iteration count. So if I set it to infinite, the loop will be infinite. Now let's create all this at the rate of keyframe animations. Here comes the identifier, that means the name of the animation that we have provided earlier. So all we need to do, we need to copy it, and here we will be pasting it. There it goes. Now we need to set some keyframes. So here comes the first keyframe. We are going to set the opacity level. For say we are setting this keyframe animation to 35%. And then comes here filter. We are providing another filter over here, which is hue rotation 145 degree. Then at 55%, all we are going to do, we are going to set another filter. For say we are going to set it for 500% saturate. At 75%, or for say 80%, we are providing a filter here which is none. That means the image will retain its original properties over here. And at the last keyframe here, we are providing 100%. At the 100% keyframe, it will execute a filter property with an opacity of 30% again. Press Ctrl S. Now let's get back to our project and reload. And we can see that these are the changes. Those have been reflected into our web browser. But if we now look into our previous segment, we can see this animation that has been executed over here. It is much smoother than we have created. So all we need to do over here is some kind of smoother animation, and that is why we are getting back to our project. And here, first of all, we need to combine these two filter properties over here, opacity 100% and hue rotate 145 degree. And then all we need to do, it will retain for some moments over here 145 degree. After that, when it gets back to our saturated condition, then first of all it will be getting hue rotate, and then in the last case when it is getting none, that means it is now retaining its original property. So we don't need to mention anything over here. It is just now returning into its previous position of the image. And at the last position, the opacity is now reducing to 30%. Now if we just reload, and now you can see that this is the smoother animation. First of all, it is now getting hue rotated, then it is getting saturated, and then it is getting less opaque, then it is getting back into its original image properties, and now it is turning up into a 30% opacity. So this is how you need to smoother your animation. You need to combine your properties if found necessary. All you need to do, you need to combine your filter properties in order to get smoother animation. In this particular case, it is getting started from opacity 30%. So from this 30% opacity, first of all, it needs to attenuate at the 100% opacity level. And at the simultaneous moment, it needs to get a hue rotation of 145 degree. And after that, it needs at 35% keyframe position a hue rotation of 145 degree. At 55% keyframe position, the hue rotation will be now turning into a saturated condition of 500%. At 80%, the image will retain its original properties, so the filter is none over here. And at 100%, this original image will change its value to an opacity level of 30%. So that is how you will see a much smoother effect into your animation after combining all those filter properties over here. So that is it for today's tutorial. Hope you guys have liked this tutorial. If you guys have liked this tutorial, then do not hesitate to hit that red subscribe button. Hope to see you guys in our next tutorial. Till then, bye.